What's up, guys? Welcome to Forgemaster Metal Reviews, the place where you can get the most out of your metal.
Today's reaction and analysis is on New Delhi-based Bloodywood. This has been a band that you guys have mentioned. You said you wanted our take on it.
If you haven't seen our reactions before, we do things from a metal musician and producer perspective, so you'll hear comments on things like the production and cool things that musicians like to do. It's like Indian Slipknot. That's cool that they gave the warning. Hell yeah. Some serious new metal vibes here.
Wicked.
I like the chant.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say there's that kind of like the Central Asian flavor.
Wow. Was not expecting that.
No kidding.
Kind of reminds me of like Booyah or
Right. Yeah, like Soulfly.
Yeah.
90s Soulfly.
Oh man, I love the lyrics.
Yeah, definitely watch this with the captions on. You've got
Ooh.
So it looks like they have two front. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Killer flow.
Yeah.
Heavy as hell.
Yep. So it looks like they have that guy like singing like the native Punjabi or Hindi or whatever.
Ooh.
That's cool. Ooh,
Heavy as
nice
hell.
syncopation.
Nice resolve there on the chorus.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right.
Right out of the gate, like freaking new metal influences, you know.
And
so
it's interesting to see, like, a lot of bands are, especially the popular ones right now, are kind of dipping into that.
yeah,
you know?
I'd say even leaning into it.
Yeah,
right.
like, good point. It's definitely more leaning. But I mean, you actually hit on this, like total Soulfly, Booyah, POD. Like,
Yep.
if you're not familiar with that, go back to 90s, 2000 era stuff. There's a lot of that influence. But one of the things I really loved here is like, so the flow is super sick on the hip hop part, but the harshes are in like Hindi, Punjabi,
Yeah.
native language.
Right. And he's got a great voice for it, and he's also flowing too. It's
Yeah.
not just like blah 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 like on the beat. He's got like, you know, a lot of wordplay, it sounds like. I always love hearing growls in other languages because, you know, growling in itself sounds like another language.
It does.
like it's got that extra like ambiguity to it.
Something that a lot of people probably don't think about is like in clean vocals, you know, having that kind of fast tongue is really hard, but also doing that in harsh is also very hard, especially at a low tone like that, because you're pushing with your stomach,
Right.
you know, and being able to do that like long lines of those syllables is pretty nuts.
Some serious breath control for sure.
One other thing I really loved was like in the breakdown section, you got those ethnic instruments, which is a definite nod to obviously where they come culturally, but it makes the song very interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's cool that we obviously have like hip hop influences, like not only musically but also culturally. You know, if you kind of like look at like their clothing and like their attire and stuff, like some of these guys are wearing what looks like more traditional garb, but like the front man is wearing like a sleeveless shirt, and like, you know, this guitar player's got like the freaking wallet chain going down to his knee and stuff. So it's kind of a cool blend of like hip hop, metal culture, but also like that Indian culture that you'd expect.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And that's going to get me to my next comment, which is you need bands like this in metal, and especially extreme metal. And the reason why is because you need bands that are accessible to get people into the genre.
Yeah.
You know, those bands, I feel like either don't get appreciated enough or don't get talked about enough or whatever. And you know, we can go into that in a different video, but I think here it's just done so well in a way that I think a lot of people are going to keep talking about it and then just get curious about bands that are more bands like this or bands that are in maybe more heavier territory.
Yeah, man. I think this is a band that whether you like it or not, it's going to bridge gaps. People who grow up listening to hip hop might not be exposed to metal. This might be their bridge from, hip hop into metal, and then they're like, oh, their next favorite band is fucking Autopsy or something that.
I mean, that's what Public Enemy did back in the day.
Yeah.
That was, I love hip hop and I love metal, and I think I probably wouldn't have taken hip hop as seriously if you didn't have that kind of crossover and say like, this is cool as hell, you should totally embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, man.
Man, dude, the drummer is a monster.
Yeah. He doesn't even look like he's hitting that hard, though. I don't know if it's for the video or...
He looks like Kratos from God of War.
Probably not a coincidence.
I wouldn't want to mess with him either. Damn, dude. Wow. Whoa. Wicked unexpected.
I like that octave shift with his voice.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, that is freaking crazy right there. I like how they open it up there a little bit.
You don't even have to know what he's saying to know that like there's this punishing anger there.
You know it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I love the band has extra percussion too.
Yeah. Very Soulfly-esque. Yeah.
And new metal in general.
Yep. Right. Slipknot had like 7 drummers.
Yeah.
That.
Brutal. This is probably wicked fun live.
Yeah. Yes. Yup. This is what I wanted.
Oh man, give me more of this. Hell yes.
That is sick.
I love the little pause in the kick.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Wow. Dude. It was like hip hop breakdown and then like back to the other parts we heard and then it was like, oh, Indian folk breakdown.
Yeah. Amorphous does this really well.
Yeah.
They don't have new metal influences, but that's, a band that immediately comes to mind. And that's the thing when we were talking about bridging the gap. If someone says in the comments here, like, oh, this reminds me of Amorphous in ways, some hip hop fan who checks this out might go check out Amorphous.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But one thing I really want to comment on, and we're going to get serious for a second here. This song has some pretty significant cultural and socio things that they're hitting on here, which I think is really, really important to touch on here. And this is obviously a song that's sticking up for women who were abused in some way and either trying to change the abuser's mind or just straight up beating them down for being the abuser, which I think that's a very interesting thing. And we need metal bands, in my opinion, talking about this more.
Yeah, it's good to see this coming from a band that is male dominated. And that comes from, I'm not going to paint any broad strokes here about anyone's particular beliefs, but they come from a culture that is generally more assertive on women, and they clamp down on women's rights and things like that. So it's really fantastic to see a band come from that culture and be like, yo, this is fucked up. Because that's what rock and roll and punk and metal has always been about. It's been about like, yeah, sure, fantasy and imagination and stuff like that. But at really the heart of it, it's been about a lot of social issues.
Yeah, and I think pointing the spotlight on something that you think is fucking wrong is a really important thing to do. And I love that this band is doing it. And I mean, it's obviously not culturally only significant to where they're from. This is something that's, you know, across the metal scene in general, across many different avenues. But it's just interesting to see, like you said, a male dominated band talking about something like this. And honestly, good on them. I think it's amazing. And I think we need more bands doing this. But getting back into the music, like there was a really unexpected hip hop transition that was almost like trap territory.
Right.
You think it's going to go into the chorus because, you know, they're in the weird rap verse thing, but then all of a sudden you get that octave switch down and it goes into this cool little trap metal section.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah. Really cool contrast there.
Yeah, and then I mean it creates like this like border. Like I said, there's that hip hop section, and then there's the verse and the pre-chorus or whatever, and then it goes into this ambient sort of atmospheric world section, which is like you saw both our reactions were both like, holy shit, you know?
Yeah.
It's one thing to hear it from a band from Finland, like Amorphous, you know? And first of all, let me say, fuck cultural appropriation. I think no matter where you're from, if you like something, you can say, I like this, and I'm going to let that influence me. Seeing a band come from that territory geographically, it's just so cool. It's like, yeah, it's get after it, man.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And you saw our reactions. We flipped our shit. Yeah. So more of that. And I think that was one thing that the band decided was like the wow moment of the song is you can tell that's like live. The lights are going to be going crazy. Everyone's going to be headbanging and just having a great time. And that's really what it's all about, you know, is everybody just getting the aggression out a little bit over a common thing.
Right. And I mean, and over this common thing, which is important, which is women's right.
Speak up, be an ally.
That's right.
Ooh, cool little synth thing.
Yeah, now if you're straight, time to turn back and run with the pack. It's time to fight, yeah, we got the ammo to stack. Fuck every man for himself, it's every man for every man and everybody else, I raise a fist for the nameless faces.
Man. This is a huge ending.
Yeah.
This sounds like POD.
Yeah.
Which I love that stuff. Until they change their mind, you're gonna get beat down.
Punched.
Oh, the kick. Oh boy.
Rakshak came out in March. We missed this one, man. I think there were a lot of great albums, but I think we might have to spin this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was just so much to check out in March, but you guys had suggested this one so many times that we had to check this one out. So I love the ending. This was it was interesting because like they're circling back on the stuff that we were talking about earlier with the socio issues, and then they're like, well, if we can't change their minds, then we'll just kick the shit out of you.
We're gonna stomp your head.
Yeah. So. You know, that's kind of the metal way.
That's the metal way, right.
So, I mean, we're not saying hit people. But anyways, what did you think of this track? Let us know down in the comments below.
As always, friends, stay bloody. Take care.